This is the nature of things.
I was maybe a couple of blocks from my house, and all of a sudden I felt something that was stopping me from pedaling. I was just grabbed.
I lost all of the power in my body. The next feeling that came over me was the feeling of impending death.
I felt like the walls were closing in a little bit. At the time, I wasn't thinking heart attack, although that was exactly what was happening.
Heart attack strikes once every 34 seconds in North America, and the numbers are rising. For decades, doctors have pointed to a prime suspect in the heart attack crime wave: cholesterol.
The higher your cholesterol level, the higher your vascular risk.
And so I go into the doctor and he just says, you have really high cholesterol and you have to start medication right away. And if you don't, you're going to be dead before you're 40.
But there are nagging questions.
It's 50% of people who have a heart attack or a stroke actually have normal cholesterol levels. The question is, what else is going on here?
If it really is a big deal, then I'm a ticking time bomb.
This case is far from open and shut. What role does cholesterol really play in these matters of the heart? Statins are the most prescribed drug in the world. They're used to bring down cholesterol levels. The odds are good that many of you watching are taking statins, or know someone who is. But in the puzzling mystery of heart disease, should cholesterol even be the main suspect? This is a detective story, a hunt for the causes of one of our biggest killers, heart attack. It's a hunt that's gone on for decades, but we may have followed some false leads and overlooked crucial clues. It's time to take a fresh look at the Heart Attack Investigation Board, compile more evidence, identify new suspects, and interview the witnesses. Like Aaron Holm, whose personal connection to this story began 20 years ago with an urgent call from his family doctor.
They said, there's a big problem with your blood results. You have to come in as soon as you possibly can. So I'm like, oh, wow, okay. You know, what am I, HIV positive? Like, what's the issue? And so I go into the doctor and, you know, it's a very somber, serious conversation. He just says, you know, you have really high cholesterol. If you don't change your lifestyle or whatever, like, you're going to be dead before you're 40. And I'm like 21 or 22 years old. You know, I'm super healthy and not quite sure what any of this stuff means.
What it meant was familial hypercholesterolemia, a genetic tendency for high levels of cholesterol in his bloodstream.
I don't have the gene where my body's able to understand that it has produced enough cholesterol and it doesn't need to make more. And so as a result, it just keeps making it. It keeps making all this cholesterol. I've never met anybody who has cholesterol levels as high as I do.
Aaron went to a number of specialists who all said the same thing: medicate.
If you take the medication, who knows what the long-term effects are? Who knows what the impact on your liver is over the years, on your kidneys over the years? Like, who knows? I don't know. I just did everything else to manage the situation except for taking medication. There's a duality to the cholesterol issue because you don't feel any problems. You don't feel sick. Yet there's a lot of pressure and fear around it that make you think that you really have to keep an eye on things.
This pressure and fear is because most doctors say the higher the cholesterol numbers, the higher the risk for a heart attack.
I really don't know what's going on inside. It's like, all I know is that there's this abstract number which is supposed to have some kind of meaning and value, and if it really is a big deal, then I'm a ticking time bomb.
If Aaron has questions, he might find answers here. This is where everything we now believe about cholesterol and heart disease got started. Like many good detective stories, this one begins in a small New England town, Framingham, Massachusetts.
Around 1940, 1950, very little was known about the causes of cardiovascular disease or how to treat it. So the government wanted to try to figure out what were the things that cause heart attacks and better predict who would develop cardiovascular disease.
The study began with over 5,000 volunteers who were monitored and tested every 2 years. And the numbers grew. For Ray Riva, it's been a family affair.
My father was one of the originals, and over the years they expanded the program, and now my sons are in it, and hopefully someday my grandchildren will be in it too.
A decade after the study started, data began to appear on the participants who were experiencing heart problems. There were certain things they had in common.
Cigarette smoking, high blood pressure, obesity. So these are things that we take for granted now, but before the initiation of Framingham, it wasn't really known.
There was one new suspect in this gang of villains that was a complete mystery to most of us. Cholesterol. It's normally a good guy. Our bodies manufacture it, and it's in every cell, essential for making sex hormones and vitamin D. But Framinghamers with heart disease tended to have a lot in their bloodstream, and plaque deposits in their arteries were loaded with it. One theory said these deposits might be clogging things up and causing heart attacks. So was this good guy really a dangerous serial killer? And where was all this cholesterol coming from in the first place? For a long time, we believed it only came from places like this.
Welcome to the Heart Attack Grill, the most fattening place on earth.
The Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas says their food is to die for.
It's bad for you, but it's fun trying it.
Patrons wear hospital gowns, and the waitstaff dress as nurses.
You're not going to see any salads because we don't have any lettuce.
Anyone who weighs over 350 pounds eats for free. And for anyone leaving food on their plate, there are consequences. But what about the consequences of downing all the cholesterol in their famous quadruple bypass burger? Is it really heading straight to the heart? Researchers have long been suspicious about a connection between diet and heart disease. In the early 1900s, a Russian scientist fed eggs to rabbits, and he discovered that their arteries quickly built up plaque deposits full of cholesterol. In the 1950s, American scientist Ancel Keys heard that people in Italy lived long lives and had low rates of heart disease. He wanted to find out why. He launched a study comparing the diets of people in Europe, Asia, and North America that revealed a suspicious connection between heart disease rates and dinner plates. His conclusion? Some diets were harboring dangerous fugitives. Countries with higher rates of heart disease not only had higher blood cholesterol, but also a higher consumption of dietary cholesterol and saturated fat. In the decades after Keys's study, ads like these started to appear.
What would you recommend? Something delicious, light, and low in cholesterol.
Slender actors living the good life, creating the impression that removing cholesterol could make our favorite foods healthy again. According to this man, the case files held some surprising secrets.
It's a huge disconnect that most people don't understand between the cholesterol in your diet and the cholesterol in your blood.
Girls, who wants chicken scratch?
When Dr. Christopher Gardner is not looking after the diet of his chickens, he's investigating the influence of diet on human health.
It seems like you eat cholesterol in your diet, it ends up in your blood. There's plaques full of cholesterol impeding the flow of blood. It must be a direct connection. But they've done studies with eggs, and they gave people an egg a day, 3 eggs a day, 6 eggs a day, and they measured their blood cholesterol throughout the study, never changed. And eggs are full of cholesterol, and they've been trashed for years and vilified because of all the cholesterol in the egg. The other big sources are shellfish. But in fact, your body adapts quite easily to the cholesterol that you get in your diet from something like an egg or a shellfish.